Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Tony Harvin, and welcome to the Tony Harvin Network YouTube channel. If you like, hit that subscribe button listed right here. After you hit the subscribe button, if you want to receive all notifications of videos that come out on this YouTube channel, hit the notification bell and select all after you hit the notification bell. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Tony Harvin Network YouTube channel. We here on the Sunday evening reporting a situation, a story that just came out about a so-called pastor. I greet everybody upon this Sunday evening, those who's viewing this YouTube live now, those who catch it in the middle, and those who catch it on the replay. The story coming out of Kenya. I do a lot of stories upon exposing pastors and things like that, and things of that nature. So whenever I come across an article in the media or the news or whatever the case may be, if it's interesting and I feel a need to do a live on it or a regular video, I'll do it. So what's up, everybody who's tuning in once again? It was this pastor that came out today, this article today, 39 dead bodies was buried on his property. Now, that's a crazy situation. There's no escaping that at all. You're a so-called preacher, and they find 39 dead bodies on your property. You cannot escape that. Even if you didn't do it. You understand that? That's a tough thing to escape. For sure. What up? What is that? Elises? What up, Blessed Tone? He says old channel. Old channel. What kind of name is that? He says old channel. You understand? So we're gonna share the screen in a bit. So let's go to share screen. He says, good evening. I saw this news and it's crazy. It is fulfilling scripture. This man is no pastor. He is of the devil. Absolutely. A so-called preacher. I agree with that. 39 dead bodies. It makes me think about Jim Jones, not the rapper. We're talking about the old-time so-called preacher, Jim Jones, back in the day when he poisoned those people. Back in the day with that poisonous, I believe is what he poisoned them with the drinks and whatnot. Jim Jones. There's only a few who survived that, out there in Jonestown or whatever you want to call that. So we're gonna share the screen upon the article. All right. Let me know if y'all can see it. It's coming up in a bit. So right here, this is it right here. Listen, 39 bodies dug up in cult investigation. 39 bodies, dead bodies. You know what I'm saying? This is from a cult. And you got a lot of those so-called churches or whatever that are cults out here, and they dug up 39 dead bodies. You're right. It is crazy. It is crazy for sure. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's get up out of here. So this is the photo that they had right there of them moving the bodies and what have you. That is it right there. The dead bodies. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me know if you can see it. So that's the scene right there of the dead body. You says he was doing rituals on his gods. He was doing rituals on his gods. I mean, just that scene right there looks crazy. Of them taking the dead bodies out. 39 bodies. They said police and local residents load the exhumed bodies of victims of a religious cult into the back of a truck village. What is that? Shanakaola, near the coastal city of Malina in southeastern Kenya. Today, April the 23rd, 2023, dozens of dead bodies have been discovered so far in shallow graves in a forest near land owned by a pastor, Paul Mackenzie, in the coastal of Kenya, who was arrested for telling his followers to fast to death. So he told his followers to fast to death. Now, I don't care what preacher it is. I don't care who you are. You understand that? I don't care how much good you preach in the word and stuff like that. A lot of people out here are vulnerable to preachers. I don't care who it is. You should have common sense to know that that's not scripture right there at the end of the day. You understand? Fast to death, and these dumb people are going to listen to him. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you are. If a preacher man, a so-called preacher man, say, listen, y'all got to fast to death. You know what I mean? You can kiss off, bro. You understand? You can kiss off. You know what I'm saying? You might get a Chappelle. You know, I'll repent later for that. But guess what? I ain't being no fool. It's common sense. But a lot of people out here, they falling for the okie doke. Ain't nothing new under the sun, as the scripture says. You know what I'm saying? Jim Jones kind of did it in such a way. He says, I'm pretty sure he was doing rituals to gods. JC1, what up, what up? So that was the situation right there. We're going to scroll down. 39 bodies have been found so far on a land owned by a pastor. Wow. That's crazy. The total death toll is 43. But they dug up 39 bodies. But the total death toll is 43. Because a further 4 people died after they and others were discovered starving at the Good News International Church last week. So basically, he told his followers to starve to death. Do these people have any sense to read the scriptures? You know what I'm saying? Starve to death? I mean, some people are just stupid, man. Let's just keep it real. And stupid and vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, sometimes stupidity can creep in. Because anybody could tell you something and you believe it. Because that door is wide open. You understand? And it's a lot, you feel like there's a lot of voidness going on within yourself. And anybody can tell you those type of people anything. Listen, jump over a cliff. You know what I mean? Shoot yourself. Drink bleach. You know what I mean? And they'll do it. Just like this situation. All right? So it says police have asked the court to allow them to hold the pastor longer as investigations into the deaths of his followers continue. Wow. He says, how long was they fasting for? Until they died, man. Until they died. Know what I mean? Listen, nothing to drink. No candy yams. No neck bones. No oxtails. No T-bone steak. Nothing. Don't even swallow your spit. Just sit there and starve to death as a part of your fasting. So they didn't put no amount of time on how long they could fast. What up, Kalani? You said the pastor kept all their money and made them starve to death. Wow. I wouldn't be surprised. Cashing out. Cashing out. Natural Cooking says, who will listen to starve to death? Maybe the pastor told them they would go straight to heaven. I agree with that too. Probably. You know, people like them who did that are so vulnerable, weak-minded. You know what I'm saying? Spiritually weak. I mean, even when I wasn't in church, when I was a knucklehead and stuff like that, I knew better. I knew better. If a so-called pastor came to me and said, listen, brother, young brother, to get your life right, you got to fast to death. You know what I'm saying? I would know better at the end of the day. As somebody like me when I wasn't in church, I had more common sense than these people who so-called are church people. It's a sad situation. It's sad. You understand? Let's go more to the story. You said they said the pastor has been arrested twice before, in 2019 and in March of this year in relation to the deaths of children. So he was arrested this year, just last month, in another investigation of deaths of children. So obviously they had to let the man out. You know what I'm saying? Now he's back arrested for these bodies that was found. You know what I mean? In his on his property. You know? They also said each time he was released on bond, in both cases are still proceeding through the court. Wow. They said cults are common in Kenya, which has a largely religious society. They said cults are big time in Kenya. You says, man, people sick. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to look him up right quick, and I'm going to see if we can find a photo of this guy right now. You know, let me see if we can find him right quick. All right, 39 bodies. Excuse me. Where you at? That's him. That's him right here. I mean, I probably do the story tomorrow on my other YouTube channel, Tony Harvin. But look at this guy's face. Look at this guy right here, man. Unbelievable. So this is the so-called pastor right here who was arrested. You know what I mean? He says Africa in general is full of witchcraft. Wow. You said believing in men, the flesh. Yep. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. You know? You says you don't even need scripture for this. This is common sense. People should know better. Absolutely. They definitely should know better. He says West African pastor. West African. Let me see where they say it was from again. I mean, I don't know. Malinde, Malindi. You know where that's at? You said no. He's Kenyan. Kenya. Where's Kenya on the map? We're gonna see that right quick. Map that out. We're gonna look this up right quick. We're gonna see where's Kenya at on the map. It says West Kenya is next to Ethiopia. Then you got Somalia. So what is that, like southeast or something like that? It looks eastern. Kenya. Am I correct? What up, Lady Speed? He says, in all blessings, bro, and all in the chat, very sad and evil. Believe only in our Lord Jesus Christ. So Kenya, you know, it looks to be eastern Africa, you know, eastern. Then you got Zimbabwe, Angola. I heard about Angola. All right, let's go back to the story. So that is the so-called pastor, you know. Elias says, that's true, Tony. I was also surprised that there is a satanic church near to the neighborhoods, literally a satanic church. Natural Cooking says east. He says before yet secrets. Sion says they call themselves men of God and apostles, and they do voodoo, all kinds of stuff on people. I've heard of that before. Voodoo, witchcraft, Palamayumbe, you know? Haiti. I think we did a live on that stuff before, voodoo, witchcraft, and satanic stuff. But you're right. They claim to be these so-called preachers, but yet they trying to use magic in the church, voodoo in the church, and stuff like that. If you're not spiritually sound, you will fall for the okie doke. You definitely will fall for the okie doke. You know what I'm saying? You says a satanic church is located in Nairobi, close to Kenya. Satanic church in satanic church witchcraft and possession. Wow. I mean, of course, it's a sad story. You understand that you have so-called preachers like that fooling the people. People want to go to church, I would hope, you know what I'm saying, to get right, to be led by a true man of God. And there's very few out here. Very few. Very few men of God out here that's really preaching and teaching the truth and stuff like that. Some may teach some truth, some lies and stuff like that, but it's very few who's preaching a high percentage of truth. You understand? He says, did you see that African pastor ascending video? African pastor ascending video? What do you mean? Did that just happen, or is it an old video, or what are you talking about? Oh, ascending through the roof. Oh, we can check that out right now. All right, that was my fault right there. I accidentally clicked out. So forgive me for that. We're going to go back to sharing the screen of this so-called pastor, So you says the pastor was ascending through the roof, and I said we was going to check out that video right quick. All right. Pastor ascending, right? Is this the one? It said to the heavens. Or is that the one? Let me know. He says to the roof. To roof. All right, let me see if I can find it. If you got the link, send a link to me. I'm trying to find it. I don't really see nothing. Let me know. He said it's a short video. Well, if you got the link, if you can find it, send it to me. All right. Definitely will put it on here. You know what I mean? What up, Robert Tucker? You said this preacher and his church followed the teachings of William Branham, if I'm correct. William Branham. I think that's the same preacher that one of the debaters, Mr. Baptiste out of Ghana, follow. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard of William Branham and stuff like that, and they believe in the serpent seed that he teaches and stuff like that, whatever the case may be. Oh, you said it was at the top. It was at the top. Let me go back to it right quick. I'm gonna go back to it right now in a bit. So, is it right here when it says pastor ascends to heaven during prayers? Is that the one right there? Let me know if that's the one right there you're talking about. It's the one in white that says 1 year ago. Is that the one right there? You said the first one. All right. I'm gonna turn the sound off due to copyright purposes and whatnot. Oh, he got a little rope. He got a rope. He got a little something that's guided him up and whatnot, and things like that. Oh my goodness, man, this is terrible. Now, it'd have been funny if the rope would have just snapped. Ah, man, these guys are clowns, man. These guys are true clowns for that, for sure. True clown. These guys are true clowns for that, man. You know what I'm saying? True clowns. So this is the so-called preacher, man, who they found 39 bodies buried, you know what I'm saying, on his property. These so-called preachers out here. You know what I mean? This is why a lot of the times, you know, people blame the Christians. We know that a lot of, you know, Christian sects are sect, SECT, are separated, like the Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, because they call themselves Christians. You know what I'm saying? They do. But we have to explain to them, like, listen, we ain't with them and things like that. But guess what? When one person does something, everybody gets the blame. You know what I mean? So when they put the word pastor in a news article and things like that, they automatically gonna say, look at them Christians. Look how they acting. Remember way back when it used to be the Catholics. You know what I'm saying? Now the light is off the Catholics. Now every week I'm seeing 2 or 3 so-called preachers being arrested for sexual charges or things like this, you know, and they're gonna blame the Christian church, the Christian churches. You know what I'm saying? Just like with police officers. One police officer mess up, they're gonna look at all of the departments, the FBI, the CIA, municipal, transit police, state police, school police, the sheriff, the deputy sheriff, Secret Service. They're gonna look at everybody that's in law enforcement as to blame. Just like when people, non-Christians, when they see an article like this, they're gonna blame Christians. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's good to have a platform to let people know, because the news articles, they're not going to put information like this in there. They're not going to say, well, they call themselves Christians, so other people who are not with that organization, they don't see them as Christians. They're just going to put it as everybody. You know what I'm saying? You says, this some Jim Jones stuff folks should be learning, not getting dumber. Absolutely. Absolutely. People don't read the scriptures or have a true man of God or somebody teaching them the scriptures properly, you know, because if any man say, listen, fast to death or you're going to heaven, that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? That's a lie. For sure. Because if you're starving yourself, if you're going on a fast, right? It's common sense. Everybody's body is different. My body may can handle only 2 or 3 days of fasting, you know? And when I fast, it's nothing at all. Ain't no water, ain't no Gatorade, ain't no body armor drink. It's nothing at all. You understand? I probably gonna only do it for 2 or 3 days. I'm not gonna sit here and listen to a person and state that, you know, oh man, you gotta fast for 40 days and 40 nights. That's what Jesus did. You know, if you don't do that, then you gotta fast longer than that. There have been people out there who have died from trying to fast longer than Jesus, or who have died for trying to fast, you know what I'm saying, a time length whereas though their bodies can't handle. You have to have common sense when you're fasting. You know what I mean? Your body may only take 7 days. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it. The next person could handle 10 days. Don't try to go beat them, because fasting is not a competition. That's something between you and God. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how much your body could take without water and food. You understand? Just like running. You can't sit here and say, wow, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You can. But don't sit here and go around and if you never ran before a day in your life and you go out there and run with 2 hoodies on in 100-degree weather, 2 or 3 miles, don't think you could do it because I can do it or somebody else can do it. You know what I'm saying? You have to work hard for that. There's different steps you have to take to get there at the end of the day. So you got to use common sense when you fasting. You know what I'm saying? You say he also made them eat snakes. That's crazy. Victor states that the pastor who told the congregation to eat grass went on to tell them to drink petrol. These guys are devils. What is that? I never heard of petrol. What is that? What is petrol? Let me know what that is. All right. You said make them eat snakes. That's crazy. So fasting, you know what I'm saying? You got to have common sense when you're doing that, for sure. Yes, the Lord is there. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But guess what? You got to know your body also. You got to take care of that temple, right? You know what I'm saying? You said, oh, gas for petroleum. Oh, petroleum. Now I know what petroleum is. I thought you was talking about something new. All right. All right, you says Africa, they call it petrol. Listen, I don't know. I'm an American. You understand? I don't know. I know what petroleum is. That's something that is delivered, you know what I mean, at these fuel companies and whatnot. I do know that. All right. But a lot of people who are in leadership position, sometimes they get off course, like Jim Jones. He might have been preaching the truth in the very beginning, but a lot of them now they're getting big headed. Now they let the devil creep in them. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you Jim Jones, you can control these people. Look what Jim Jones did. He took most of his congregation from America, right, and brought them to a different area, more so secluded. If you've seen the movie, if you've seen the documentary and things like that, they didn't want nobody to know their business on the island. You know what I'm saying? I believe a congressman who visited the island with Jim Jones, he was killed as they was trying to get on the plane. You know? He says petrol is what one puts in a car at a garage. You said show the pastor who was resurrecting the guy. Send me the link. Send a link in here. Send a link in here. All right. Let me see if I could find it. You know, but in this situation of 39 bodies being found on this man's property and whatnot, obviously that's common sense right there. That this man is guilty. You know what I'm saying? Right off the bat. I don't see no link. I'm looking at the emails right now. I don't see no link. I'm looking at it. All right, I see it now. Okay, my fault. Forgive me. It says, all right. I'm gonna try to put it up. All right, I'm gonna try to put it up. I gotta get the link. You know what I mean? Because it's through email. It's not going to it's not going to a different it's not going to a different tab. All right. You said, Tony, if you ever come to South Africa, I will take you around to see things that will make your head stand up. What up, Jen? What up? What up? What up? So you said go to this video right here. I'm at the video. I had to stop it because I don't want to show that advertisement on here, man. You know, I'm gonna wait till the advertisements go away, and then we're gonna show it. All right. So we're gonna share the screen right now. So this is the video that you sent. Let me switch it. He says, what is that? Zinska shooketh after video of pastor bringing dead man back to life goes viral. Genju says straight demonic. What is that? Primitive African Kenyan psychopath. He needs to be under a prison. Wow. So we're gonna play the video. I ain't gonna play the whole video. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna skim through it right quick. We're gonna skim through it. Man, I don't believe. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know that. You know that guy kind of looked like Lil Boosie a little bit. Kind of. I don't know. I don't know. This was 4 years ago. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I can't call it. He says the mama is there too. He says, man, these folks are paid actors. That video is cap. What up, Naomi Hope? I don't know about that video. It's funny though. I'm not saying, real men of God cannot bring a person back to life. I'm not saying that because it can happen. You know what I mean? Prayers do work. Laying on the hands do work. You know what I'm saying? Of course, God gives the power and stuff like that, not the man. He says, but they still do it. I agree with you. It probably is still doing it. You know? Do you believe that was real at Sion? Eli says that was an act. It was an act. I've seen that one also. Absolutely. That's crazy. But you laughing. So back to this story at hand, with this so-called pastor. 39 dead bodies. So he must have had a lot of strength to bury 39 bodies. Imagine how much time it took for him, unless he had help. You know what I'm saying? To bury 39 bodies on his property. Imagine the stench to his property with 39 dead bodies. I can't stand the smell of a dead animal. When I'm riding down the road or a highway, you see them dead deers. You see them on 85. You know what I'm saying? You see them on 95 in Jersey, 95 in Delaware, going through Maryland. They smell. Imagine 39 dead bodies. Imagine that. You know what I'm saying? Funky. You're right. So his property, I think somebody said it was a tip-off. That's how he got caught and arrested for that, for them to discover those dead bodies. So that is the man right there. That is his facial expression, I guess. And one of his photos and things like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're probably gonna hear more updates upon his story from the media and things like that. In a sense, it's an embarrassment. You know what I'm saying? That you got people like this that call themselves Christians, and they doing things like this. I don't know what came to his mind besides the devil to say, listen, I'm going to enslave these people to fast to death. Vivian Whitmore says, if you look at it closely before he even tried to bring him back, his mouth was moving. Thank you. And keep the videos coming. I can't stand musky people, 39 bodies. PU, Sion says, West African fake apostles, prophets make me laugh because of the shenanigans they pull. Shenanigans. And that's what all it is. Shenanigans. Now, I don't know how they do out there as far as with the death penalty. I know some places overseas, they behead you. I remember seeing the DVD back when I was like 19 in my 20s and stuff like that. Going to New York City, buying the DVDs. They actually had DVDs where as though they would show you if you commit a crime overseas, they were chopping people's hands off, chopping their heads off, putting them on like a pole or something, executing them with bullets and stuff like that. So I remember seeing that in my early 20s, late teens. So I don't know the punishment out there for such crimes like this. You know, you said this guy's East African, but I'm talking about West African videos. Okay. Natural Cooking says your people are evil too. I don't know who you're referring to. Who you're talking to at Natural Cooking? Your people. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean? Let me know what you mean. All right. So back to the story at hand. We're gonna go back to it and things like that. So this is the bodies. Once again, when it comes up, these guys are carrying the bodies out. They said a tip-off from members of the public led to a raid that of the pastor's property in Medellina, where they found 15 people, including the 4 who died later. The followers said they were starving on the pastor's instructions in order to meet Jesus. You gotta be kidding me, you know? She said West Africans. Oh, you talking to Sion? Okay. Hey. Jesus True says Africa is of the devil in general from all the 4 corners. Wow. He says Africa is of the devil. You're talking about the whole continent? Let me know. Let me know if that's what if you're talking about. All right. You got another article that says 21. Look at these dead bodies right here. I mean, just look at them. They got them in blue body bags. Listen, that's a crazy situation right there. You know? It says they in body bags or what? Yep, they are. Right there. In body bags. You know? All right. I don't know what this is that just came up. These pop-ups coming up. Excuse me for that. In fact, let me get off that. You says the total death toll is 43 because a further 4 people died. All right. Yeah, that's what's up. All right. So that was a story coming out of Kenya, you know, with 39 bodies, and update was 43. You know, this is the story, one of the top stories out here, you know, of a so-called pastor having these dead bodies on his property after telling his congregations, his members, to fast to death in order to meet Jesus. Very similar to the Jim Jones situation. Very. Let me see how many people died from that Jim Jones situation. We're going to see how many people died from that Jim Jones situation. Jim Jones death toll. All right. So it says how many people died in the Jonestown massacre. More than 900 people died in the Jonestown massacre, including some 300 who were aged 17 or under. It is one of the largest mass deaths in American history. So more than 900 people in that Jim Jones situation. How many people survived? Fewer than 100 of the temple members in, Guyana survived the massacre. Wow. The majority of the survivors either had defected that day or were in Georgetown. Wow. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. That is crazy right there. All right. What up, David B? He says, did you see the one where when the African preacher was bathing the woman of the so-called church? I haven't seen that. But that ain't nothing but a pervert. That's nothing but a pervert at the end of the day. You know, you got perverts, then you got murderers like this guy right here. You know, they try to say, "Oh wow, I heard about the one." There was a lot of situations out there in Africa. You know, I don't even want to talk about it. As far as like the extent that they would go to just to try to fulfill their sexual desires, trying to use the scriptures, you know what I mean, to fulfill their wicked fantasies on a woman. All right. Victor says African American is not at all like African people. This side, there is a huge difference. Jen Jew says, Pastor asked them to starve to meet God, but he was eating like a king. That's funny. That's funny right there. Now that's funny. For sure. He says nothing but a freak. Jenju says that area where it happened is apparently a Muslim area. Now they're going to meet Lucifer and his demons. Foolish souls. Foolish souls. You know, that's another good one right there. Lucifer. I'm not going to say the person's name who reached out to me. They had a question about the term Lucifer. You know what I mean? They came at me with that, you know, which was a good question. All right, we're going to end this live. I thank y'all for tuning in to this live on this secondary YouTube channel, Tony Harvin Network. My primary YouTube channel is Tony Harvin, and I got Tony Harvin TV, which will be just the Truth of God videos on that YouTube channel. We're in the making of, you know, switching things around just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So Tony Harvin TV, Truth of God videos, this channel, news, sports, whatever. So I thank everybody for tuning in. Let me get to these last comments. He says, Jesus is truth. Cult leaders truly are sick people, how Jim Jones killed those people in a place named after him. You're right. You're right about that. You know? So thank y'all for tuning in. I hope everybody have a wonderful night. Top of the work week tomorrow. And Lord willing, I'll be back on my lives tomorrow on this channel and Tony Harvin channel in general. So may you all have a blessed day. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, do so. If you like, hit the notification bell to receive all notifications of videos that come out on this YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? If you're in tune with the Truth of God videos of Geno Jennings, go to Tony Harvin TV. Tony Harvin TV here on YouTube or Facebook. The groups out there on Facebook that I'm posting up the Truth of God. Main ones, Holiness, Truth of God and Scriptures. The one that's over 30,000 followers. And Our Father, which art in heaven. That's another group that we got on Facebook. Over 24,000 followers. So check those videos out. Truth of God, Daily Motion, Rumble.com, and more things coming up. You know what I'm saying? All right. He says America is a mess. There are fake pastors here too. I agree. All right. May you all have a good night. God bless to everybody. I'm Tony Harvin signing off. I'm out. Peace.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Tony Harvin, and welcome to the Tony Harvin Network YouTube channel. If you like, hit that subscribe button listed right here. After you hit the subscribe button, if you want to receive all notifications of videos that come out on this YouTube channel, hit the notification bell and select all after you hit the notification bell.